Yes, yes, yes. This is the day that the Lord has made, and we will rejoice and be glad in it. Welcome to Ascend Week 3, and I'm going to show you what I do about 4 to 6 hours a day in between every single tour. My name is Mark Mohr. I'm going to take you on a tour of our studio. So first things first, I want to tell you a little bit something about recording. For me, mixing was a disaster when it came to our first few albums. First one, we were heading off, going to Jamaica, didn't get a chance to finish the album. Sure enough, somebody else mixed it for us that didn't know reggae. They put delay on bass line. Oh, Lord Jesus. Second time, Soulfire. Again, we were off to Jamaica and just in the nick of time. So we weren't there for mixing. And so intros like the intro of Spirit Cry, where it's supposed to be in time, we're off time. And it was super frustrating. Third time I was there, and this was Valley of Decision, but they put so many effects on my voice, sound like I was singing from outer space. It was no fun. After that, I learned how to mix myself. I had to, and if you're an artist, you need to learn how to mix yourself. You need to sit over the producer's shoulder and learn. There's no better time in the history of the world to learn how to mix than right now. For Word, Sound, and Power, I paid somebody to mix. It costed $20,000 or $30,000. Some songs took 18 hours to mix, and they were using a big board called an SSL board. And now we can do it all from my computer, and I'm going to show you how I do it by mixing a song that I've never mixed before, by mixing a song that's never been released before, here in my old bedroom. That's right. I started mixing, I started doing all of this stuff, learning how to do it myself on a computer. It was Palabra, Sonido y Poder, that album. I paid somebody $30 an hour to work on the project, and he kept taking breaks. And every time he took a break, I was like, man, this is wasting my time and my money. So I would press save, Command S, number one rule of mixing, save. Jesus saves, so should you. And then as I would just start messing around and learning. And it was a program called Digital Performer, which is what I'm going to be using today. There is a Digital Performer Lite that you can get for free, so you can learn how to do this as well. And by the end of the album, the guy said, "You don't need to pay me anymore. I think you know this program better than I do." And so I went on to mix dozens and dozens of albums. Today, I'm going to show you what I do, how I do, and how you can do it from your old bedroom or your present bedroom. Now, mixing for me is free, but time is money. And so just keep in mind, as you are doing this work, it will cost you something. If you pay somebody to do it, if you do it yourself, it will cost you time and or money. So another thing that I really want to teach you before I start this song is to mix with your ears, not with your eyes. We're going to be looking at a screen, and it can be very tempting to think that now that you raised up the volume or now that you see this visually, that it sounds better. And so don't fall into that temptation. From time to time, I will just close my eyes, or I will put the screen in a hot corner to where it gives me, that dancing shape or whatever, so that I can make sure that everything is sounding right. Here's another quote that I want to give you before I start mixing. You ready? A song isn't perfect when nothing more can be added, but when nothing more can be taken away. So don't think, oh, add this. Oh, I need this. Think, what can I get rid of? How can I strip it down? How can I bring it down to the essentials? So I'm going to say this throughout the day, probably. Less is more. Okay, less is more. So keep that in mind. When you build it up, sometimes you have to strip it down to the essentials. and get rid of anything that gets in the way of the primary thing, and that is the vocal, the overall hook, the overall feel of the song. And when you're mixing, don't just turn up the volume if you're trying to hear something. In fact, try to listen at a softer volume so your ears don't make you go deaf, don't blow out. And if you listen at a softer volume, you'll be able to hear a more honest mix. Okay, if you have to turn it up to hear something, ask yourself, what am I turning it up to hear? Another thing that I'm going to be showing you today is that volume isn't always the solution. Okay, sometimes we think, oh, a little more bass. No, maybe you EQ the bass in a different way. A little more rhythm guitar. No, maybe you add some highs or some mids to the rhythm guitar. So try to fix it with EQing or not just volume. And when you're dealing with volume, your ear can't really tell the difference between a little bit of a jump. It has to be about 2 dBs up or 2 decibels down. That's about when the ear can hear. So don't bring it up a little click and think, I fixed it. So 2 dBs or more, you can really, really hear. I want to also, I'll give you an illustration in 1 second, but where to edit a soundbite, I'm going to show you where to edit it and make it exactly on the line, have it on the grids. I'm going to show you how to use auxes, reverbs. Another tip that I like to do is use headphones when I'm mixing and then switch them, because you never know. Your hearing may not be even or perfect. Switch them. You may be used to hearing it one way. It'll give you a different perspective. And when you're EQing, you find an annoying frequency and get rid of it. You find the strong frequency and accentuate it and enhance it and focus on it. So if you record bad, you're going to have a lot more work to do when you mix. So I want to encourage you to record it right. And if you didn't take Connor's class on sound, take the next one, and hopefully we can send you Connor's first class on sound. That is crucial as well. And record things right, like drums. Today I'm going to show you how to work with a drum loop. Don't ever expect anyone to care more about your music than you do, okay? If you're not willing to spend the time to do this or to pay somebody to do this, nobody's going to do it, care about it as much as you. And if you pay them, they still probably won't care about what you do as much as their own stuff. A few more tips before I start mixing. From time to time, stand up. I have a standing desk that actually goes up and down. Justin is here in the other room right now, and he's my co-pilot when I mix. Try to mix with a co-pilot. And when you're mixing also, I want you to think about doing something that is timely. That means like good for today, but also timeless. And then a crucial thing to give you perspective is to step away from the mix. It could be going to take a break. It could be going out to eat. It could be going to the beach for me. Sometimes when I think I'm done with all the mixes on the album, I go out of town, I come back in and listen, and I'm like, oh, wow, I need to fix this. So time. Never start a mix and finish a mix on the same day, okay? Beach Boys used to listen in, they had their own radio broadcaster. And when they would mix, they thought they had it right. They would send the signal, and then they would go in their car and listen to it. And listen to it on an AM radio, which is how the songs were going to be listened to. And so do that as well. For some way or another, I have something called a big knob, and I have, as you can see, well, I don't know if you can see, but I have a bunch of different sets of speakers here, 3 different ones. And so I go through those as well. And I try and make sure that when I'm doing it, I'm listening through different references. Find the sweet spot in your room. And you may also want to sound design. I don't know if you can see this, but I have sound design as well. So that helps also. And then listen through your phone on the mix, listen through earpods, Apple earpods, whatever people are going to be listening to your mix the most in, do that. And no amount of mixing can fix a bad song or a bad vocal. We're going to get into that as well, okay? It will never be perfect, but try and match your sonic vision with what you hear. When I have a vision for a song, this song that we're about ready to do, I had a vision. I told Times that I wanted him to do something like the Specials, Ghost Town, and the Skints did a song similar to that. And then he sent it to me, and then I wrote a hook to it. So make sure it matches that vision. And each song should have originality, should have original sounds. It shouldn't sound like all the others, okay? So, and then I will show you today in just literally 2 minutes how to comp, how to automate, all this stuff from my old bedroom. At the end of it all, a good mix, here's my tip. You should be able to bring it all the way down to nothing, bring it up a little bit, and hear drums and vocals. If you can only hear vocals, drums aren't loud enough. If you can only hear drums, vocals aren't loud enough. They have to have a good relationship, and everything needs to be in a relationship. So I'm going to share my screen really quick. And here we go, sharing computer sound as well, I believe. Okay, great. And let's do this, click share. And all right, can you see my screen? Hopefully you can. Let me know, Thiago, if you can see my screen.
Yes, I can.
Okay, yeah. Great. All right, so here's a joke. The manager at our local IKEA is retiring. So I sent him this cake. Do you get it? In IKEA, you have to assemble everything. And these are the essential elements that are pretty much in every cake. And kind of like a mix, well, you have the essential elements. Now, with these elements, you can make a really bad cake if you don't know what you're doing. You can put too much salt or not enough sugar or different things. So make sure as we're mixing, we want to have a good relationship with this stuff. So where I live, we have something called NBC, and I like to think of mixing like a peacock. Are you ready? You got your drums. Each one of these is a different color for a different reason. They have a different placement, a sonic placement in the song itself. You have your bass. They should be EQ'd different because they're on different frequencies and they're not competing. You have your keys, your organ, which will be EQ'd differently than your guitars, which will be EQ'd in a different place in the mix than your percussion. And lastly, your horns, your synth, your kind of lead melodies. Wait a minute, I'm missing something. What am I missing? The most important thing. It is not the feather. It is the bird, okay? You can have an a cappella song. You can't have a good song, a good hit song without vocals, and vocals are the foundation of it all. So that's my peacock, and we're going to get into it. Anything you want to add, Thiago? This is Thiago Costa, who is my co-producer, who joins us from time to time on different albums. Anything you want to add there as I pull this up?
No, I mean, I follow pretty much the same pattern. Actually, even in that order, sometimes I like to mix, starting with the drums.
Yeah,
it's kind of building that foundation.
Yeah,
and start adding up. The bass definitely comes right after the drums, and then when you get that going, then you can start really going after other things. So
definitely.
Yeah.
Okay, so what I'm going to start with is, this is a song that, like I said, this is the dumbest chair in the world, sorry. This is a song that I had the idea for. I sent my ideas off to Times, and he then sent me this. So sorry about this with the mic, guys. You're going to learn how to build a song from scratch by Times. So this is what he sent me. I have not touched it yet besides laying down a quick scratch vocal. Okay, so we're going to start off with doing something very, very simple. I need to make sure that all of my auxes are working. Here we go. I've never mixed a song this quickly before. So, okay, all the auxes are in. First aux is a delay. Second one's a plate. Next one's a flanger, a chorus. And then I use something called dub station. I just saved randomly. It's a gut reaction, Saving Private Ryan. You got to save. I have an EQ, which is more of a mids. I have another EQ. I have another dub station, and these ones are all in triplets. Cha 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 cha. Those are the kinds of ones. And then I have some other reverbs, and this is one of my favorite. It makes it just. So you're going to see that. Okay, so those are all in place. And next thing I have to do when I'm mixing, here we go. I'm going to highlight all, and it's kind of fun. Never mixed a song with under this much pressure, Thiago. Again, I'm saving just a random thing. And then I'm going to go up to track groups. I'm going to create a new group, and I'm going to now bring all of these tracks. If I click on one of them, it will show all of them. Okay, sorry, it's doing it over here for some reason. Okay, I'm going to click on the top one of them, and I'm going to now bring it down by like 4 dB, 5 dB. Why do I do that? Well, I've noticed sometimes when I'm mixing that, now I'm going to undo, which will only undo the grouping and nothing else. Okay, so now that I've done that, I'm able to make sure that these things aren't clipping. I'm going to start off with the most important thing, the drums. I'm going to click on solo. I'm going to go here and make sure the auxes, my best friend, are playing. All right, and now let's start the music. If you are watching this or listening to this from a phone and you can get to a computer, do it. Get yourself on a computer, put on some stereo headphones, otherwise this won't be the same. Okay, here we go. Starting with the drums, I'm gonna play the drums. First thing I wanna do with the drums is I wanna make sure that I have the right EQ. So this is it flat. This is, so I like to find that nice spot around 50, really give it a pop. And then I want to make sure that the snare is working. If I want it low, I'm going there. If I want it higher, I like there, maybe there, and now hi-hat. Find that sweet spot, and I'm pretty happy with that. Maybe the kick's a little loud, but I like a loud kick. Okay, now I'm gonna do a secret that I've never seen anybody else do. Okay, so I've got this. I'm gonna highlight this drums. I'm going to duplicate the drums. And what am I doing, you may say? I'm now gonna highlight the duplicated, double click on it, and I'm going to toggle it 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 to the right. Now, if you listen to it, if I were to pan it to the right, listen to what I've got. Hear it phasing? That's kind of ugly. Okay, so now I'm going to do a trick. Like I said, I've never seen anybody else do this. And I'm going to add number 11, which is the really big reverb to this one. And then I'm going to save again, because you always save. If you learn anything today, learn how to do that. Let me see if I have it. One of my presets here. I'll just go AM. AM will work for me. And I'm going to now EQ this AM guy. I'm going to mute the first one. This is what I'm playing with. Now, why am I doing a bell curve? Why why do I have no highs and no lows? Because I'm trying not to have this bah on the kick or the bah on the snare. Okay, so there you have it. Thiago, you may want to mute if you are not. Here we go. So now I can choose whether low or high. This is higher. So I'm going to play the original with it. Do you like low or high? Which do you prefer, Thiago? This is high, this is low.
I prefer low.
Okay, let's do that. That work for you, Chi? All right, so there we have it. I don't have to pan it hard now. I can pan it a little bit if I want to, but it's this guy right here. Now listen with the thing all the way up. Without it. This is without it. With it. And then I want to bring this guy down a little bit and get it to where it's, is that a good mix? You don't want it too muddy, Thiago. What do you think?
Yeah, we can brighten up a little bit later too.
Okay. Are you good with that though?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Here we go. And there's a crash here that he gave me. Let's hear it. Okay. I'm going to warm up that crash, and I'm going to warm it up by some EQ. So I'm just going to copy over this EQ. I'm going to add a little bit of that same verb, give it a little decay. And I'm going to take that EQ now. And this is crash. I'm going to just do something in this range maybe. And let's hear it now. Let me see if I can't. That'll work. It's not the best crash sound. This is probably going to be replaced by live drums at some time, but I want to audition the others. And when you hear something off, you want to fix it as well. Maybe I'll brighten that guy up just a little bit more, bring it over here maybe, and know your codes for going back a little bit. And maybe I liked it over here more. And yeah, there's certain codes and different ones as to going back a second or a few seconds. Know your shortcuts. That works for me. Okay, so we've got that. Now we go to the most important part. Oh, and that is bass. Here we go. Saving again. This is his bass sound. Get your ears ready. I'm going to put it into my default. Oh. Oh yeah. Bring it down. Now the toughest thing with this, I'm going to have to actually listen through the speakers because I can't count on my ears right now on these headphones to have the response. And that's not going to work. Yeah, I'm going to have to mute myself for a second just so that I can, give me a second here, guys. Sorry. That's Avian's album cover, by the way. I got it up here, I think. Hopefully. There it is. Got it. Got it. Sorry about that. All right. So I'm going to have to listen and do a rough mix of this, I think, without hearing it in the speakers, regrettably. One thing we didn't work out. There we go. Okay. Since which album did you start mixing yourself? Gravity. Did it all myself in this bedroom. Great question, man. And in the meantime, how do Digital Performer, GarageBand, Audacity, and others compare to start with? I don't know. I only know one. What's up?
I can do it.
No, don't worry about it. I'll just do it. I'll just go off my headphones. Sorry, guys. Just for this sake, I'm gonna mix. It's okay. Thanks. All right. Crack-a-lackin'. Yeah, I don't know. All I know is this one. I wouldn't start with GarageBand. I would probably start with Logic, if not Digital Performer. But Pro Tools can work. Should you take a break and listen to other songs while mixing? You definitely can. Surprisingly, I never do. I try to be true to what I'm hearing, not what I'm hearing somebody else do. I'll ask the mastering guy to do that. But so there's that. There is a new sound that I just sometimes I like to mess around with things. So let's see if I can't find this really quick. I don't know if I'm going to be able to get there, but I just bought a new plugin, and Justin was kind enough to add it, I think. Nope, not there. MOB maybe? Nope, and isotope. Nope. Okay. So it's not there, but there is one called Mobius that I just got that I'm looking forward to trying at some time because it can get something like that. But in this case, couldn't find it, so gonna move on. All right. Every once in a while, you just realize you're not doing it right. Okay, Justin, did you put in the flat pick or no? Take that as a no for now. I'm going to have to grab that unless Justin pops on right now and tells me yes. And this is flat. And flat pick for dry bones. Okay. And we use MediaFire for all our stuff as we just convert it. And so you just see how quickly I just got something. That's how quickly stuff goes back and forth from Brazil to me. And in this case, now I'm going to show you how to drag it in, which is pretty simple. Once I new Finder window, and here we go.
Hey, just a quick comment on.
Go ahead, talk.
On that
Flat-pick
question about different softwares and stuff.
Yes, please.
So basically, they all will do the same thing. It's a matter of learning which workflow will work best for you.
Yes.
And in Mark's case, he's used to work with Digital Performer for a long time.
Yeah.
So for him, that workflow works best. And
Digital Performer is what is used in movies and TV out here. Every major movie from Lord of the Rings to anything, the Batmans, the Mission Impossibles, the everything. It's used for that. We use it for sound scoring for our videos as well. Okay, so you just see how quickly I just dragged it in. I just dragged it in, double click on it. Now, one thing I like to do when I do that is go to the very beginning and just make sure that there's nothing there and then drag it over. And once I have that, hypothetically, we should have a flat pick. Let's see. There it is. And it's already sounding nice. Let's get these drums and bass up at the top. I like to do that. I like to shuffle things from time to time. You see how I'm using colors as well? It just kind of helps me figure out what goes where. And so in this case, we're going to have the guitar be blue. And I'm going to get some other stuff up just because I'm going to want it soon. Piano is going to be the next guy up. So I'm going to put him up. And then bubble, got to have your bubble. And probably clavinets. He's got 3, it looks like. Again, this is all new to me, so it's kind of fun to do this in front of you guys. And hopefully we'll get it done in time. All right, here we go. So, and we got flat pick. So this is what I like to do with flat pick. Flat pick is the guitar. I like to pan it, and typically to the right, okay? And this one's called flat. There it is. Okay. So now that I can find it, I'll show you kind of roughly what I'm dealing with. First is an EQ. I don't want it to compete with the bass. So the bass is using this range. The kick is using this range. So kick, bass, flat pick. I want them each to have their own place. So I'm going to use a compressor on it as well because you see how it was louder there? Dun, 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 dun. That's something that is a no-no for me. So I'm going to use a little bit of a compressor and do that. Where are you watching from? Let me know. Shout them out, Thiago, as we go. Okay, so I'm going to use guitar smoother. No, I don't like that one.
El Salvador, Ohio.
Wow. That sounds pretty good. Okay, now I'm going to go for Maui. Wow. Is that
Peru.
Jacob? I'm going to do for,
Station.
listen to this.
Sorry.
That guy's your friend right there, by the way. I'm going to use that. These are all auxes, by the way. Listen to this guy. Just a little bit of that guy. Just a little bit. And then this guy, I use like 3-4 delays. Listen to this guy. So just a little bit, just enough. I use this plate as well, which is number 11. Oh, gonna bring that back. And just a little bit. Got it? And this is the kind of same kind of thing that I'll be putting on the reverb as well. And then I think that's, did I do 12 already? Let me see. No, let's do 12. Listen to that. Here's my flap. Listen. You hear that? Just a little bit. Now you wouldn't know when you listen to our songs. I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 different delays and 2 or 3 different reverbs, but it adds a body. And then I just dial them down a little bit. Okay, the next thing I do is this. You ready? I now do some automation while I'm in the middle of it just because I can. So I'm going to save again. I'm going to click on this, which is automation. I'm going to go for it. As we go through, I'm just going to do a little bit of automation. I'm going to use number 9, which is the chink, 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 that guy. So from time to time when I hear something I like, I'm just going to do that. Something like that. So there you have that. I'm going to bring the number 10 down a little bit. I think he's a little loud. And I'm pretty happy with that so far. And then I'm going to go to piano. I like to do piano next because I know what it's supposed to sound like. Here we go, piano. Flat pick seems a little loud now. Now, since we have 2 guitars, I'm going to put the piano in the center. But typically I would go piano hard right, flat pick hard right, rhythm guitar hard left, bubble or organ hard left. Today I'm going to, because Times Likes gives me to give me twice the guitar, I'm going to do this. So we've got this. I want to make sure that we're at the right place with the compression, because Times plays a little uneven from time to time. And then I want to EQ this guy. Let's see what we got. Fine. You don't want this. So I usually do about this, about that. And I'm going to do about the same thing now for this guy. I'm going to get him to match these guys pretty much. You hear that? Isn't that sweet? That's reggae right there, brother. That was reggae. Anybody else watching from anywhere else in the world? What's the furthest place you're watching from? So I've got Okay, now I think I've got a good spot. Again, I'm not used to mixing with just headphones. I like to only use my speakers and use the headphones from time to time. So I don't know exactly. Okay, now I've got that. And next, let's go rhythm guitar. We've got 2 to choose from here. And actually, I'm going to use both. So let's start off. You know what? Because I can, these are going to be virtually the same as the flat pick. So I'm going to duplicate the flat pick. I'm going to highlight all. I'm going to click on it. I'm going to delete. I'm going to call this rid left, and I'm going to duplicate that again and call it rid right. Duplicate and rid right, and that's going to be rhythm guitar. In reggae, drums and bass are not called rhythm. The chank is. So I've got that. I've got rhythm left. I've got rhythm right. If you're not listening to this, let's see what Times had as his EQs de jour, and we'll start with that. I don't take what somebody else gives me and consider it gospel truth. I like to question it, and I like to, well, roll with it. Here we go. Okay, so now we have these new tracks. I just need to highlight these 2. Apple A, I'm using commands for everything for the most part, and now they're on there. I can get rid of these old guys, make sure there's nothing on the right. Okay, deleting old guys. Okay,
you're saving too, right?
Always saving.
Great.
Jesus saves, so should you. Okay.
By the way, if you are on a Windows computer, well, God bless you, but so it's Control A instead of Apple A. That selects everything.
Sorry, anytime I say Apple, I really mean Command, or the little 4 squiggly thing. There used to be an apple on it back in the day. I remember that. Here we go. First rhythm. Okay, first thing I notice is we got this fill, right? I would not have rhythm guitar chanking over that. I think that's just super annoying. What does he have here? Okay, so and right now I have it on auto where it's starting at a certain spot every time I start it. I don't want to do that either. So if you notice, I'm doing this from time to time, which is cleaning out. Thiago will tell you I'm super specific.
OCD.
OCD, better than calling me anal. Thank you very much. And you see what I'm doing? Because there's a little bit of a decay from that, I don't want it to start here. I want it to start there, and then I got to do that. That's just how it is, dude. Get it right. You don't want to be mixing the song, and when they master it, all of a sudden they're like, hey, what's that click? Oh, somebody forgot to crossfade. It's so simple. For me, Command A, Control F, and now every single thing in the entire song is crossfaded. Hallelujah, the angels just sang. Here we go. Okay, we got 2 rhythm guitars here. We're going to do one at a time. Okay, I got too much delay going on. First thing I'm going to deal with this guy before I get into the EQ for him. Oh, hey, he's not even doing a chank. Oh no. See, given this, you hear that, Thiago? He's too inconsistent. I got a pan hand. I'm gonna go piano almost all right now. I'm gonna make this guy lean towards the right. Now I'm gonna have to go have the other one, if it's consistent. Let's hear if it's consistent. Yep. Are they playing the wrong chords? Were they not? What is that? They're playing the wrong chords, aren't they? Oh, that's not good.
Something's probably not aligned correctly.
Yeah. You hear that? That's not good. Okay, so what I'm going to do with this, just in case, looks like This is the kind of stuff that you don't want to have happen, but it happens all the time. And so what do? Like I said earlier, I'm going to go to the very beginning. I've clicked on both of these. I'm going to drag these guys over. I'm going to pull them all the way to the left and drag them all the way over again and make sure, you see where it was? You remember when I said, Chiago, that the rhythm shouldn't be playing there? Look at where it is. So he pasted it in wrong. Okay, this stuff happens all the time. No offense, Times, if you're watching this. Happy birthday to you. Okay, so there you have it. And that's something else you have to catch. Details, man. You can't mix a song and not care about details. Here we go. That's more like it. Okay, so let's focus on this guy first. So I like to deal with the EQ. I'm going to use this EQ because I just like it so much better. And did it pull out? Oh. It's weird. Okay. I'm on rhythm. Let's see here. I like that. Nice. Okay, so this one's sounding good so far, the rhythm left. I am dealing with an issue right now that I've never encountered before, which is one of the fun things of dealing with all this. For some reason, this channel is not, this first one is working, but the other one is not. So I'm going to duplicate tracks for this one. I'm going to take this, and problem solving is a big portion of mixing, figuring out, especially when other people are doing things. Now, what I'm doing when I'm dragging something up is I hold on shift and I pull it up, and there it is. It's working now. Okay, so let's now get back to where I should have been a while back. It's too low. So I want to find that. That's nice. I like that. That's a sweet spot right there. Comparatively speaking to the piano, I think the piano can be a little more centered. Yeah, it's got a nice little bite to it. Okay. And let's go with this guy now. I'm going to mute the last guy. Well, real quick, actually, I got to put in these effects. And there you have it. I've got the first one. I'm going to unsolo him. Now the other guy. This guy's got a little bit of a more chunk to it. I'm going to want to have them in a different space EQ-wise. So I'm going to find that. He's got a bite. Where is the ugly? Right about there is where he's ugly. So I'm going to do that. And I'm going to find the spot where he's bad, bring it down. Find the spot where it's good and bring it up. You okay, Justin?
I'm good.
Great. Justin's my co-pilot. Couldn't do this without him. Justin has sat next to me in so many songs. So I think it's all right. He's kind of loud and then soft, but is not the most consistent thing. Let's get these two in there. We got, I'm going to switch these again. I'm going to go 3/4 on each with that guy hard right. And I'm going to add the effects to him now. Saving. Anything you want to add, Chiago? All right. Bubblicious. Let's get some bubble gum in this place. It's not reggae without the bubble. There's so many bubbles you can do. Ooh, this is a vintage. Okay, first thing I'm going to do is effects on this guy. Add a little bit of a plate reverb. I will not do delays on this guy. He's so busy already. Ooh, doesn't that sound good? Let's add something to him. Find that sweet spot. I like that area. So if you notice, I've got a shelf. This area is reserved for drums, for kick and bass. And oh, did you hear something? All right, Justin. Justin is my guy who tells me, "Hey, Mark, did you hear that? Are you going to edit that?" Here we go. We're going in. All right. So first thing I got to do is highlight this Command S. And then I'm going to, one thing that's kind of dumb with DP is that you have to tell it this soundbite tempo if it's coming from a different interface. He has it as 140.72. And as you can see, this song is at 70. So there we have it. All right. Tell me when you hear the flub. Right about there was a bit dodgy. And you can see these. I can just tell you which one it is. This one's a little early, and these ones are significantly late. Seems like he played it live. So I'm just toggling it a little bit. And in order to do that, I just highlight, delete, toggle, and there you have it. I always pull it across, and what do we do, Thiago? You know what we do? We got to do a little crossfade there. There we go.
Crossfade everywhere.
Tuck that sucker in. Now, I could do this all day long right here. This toggling. Oh, this is therapy for me. I'll do this for a drum track for 5 hours straight.
For every piece of the drum set.
Oh, every single note that the drum does. The same way I'm doing this right now. It's kind of therapeutic. For you, it may be stressful. Everything's in its line. Oh, now I just feel so much better. Now, there's probably other places since he cut and paste or copied and pasted, but we'll get back to that later. We won't deal with that now. But that's how I edit. And now, listen. Oh, that one's off too. Darn it. All right, yeah, we'll call it roots. Well, that part is on at least. Okay, so there you have it. That's how I do it with that. Now you can do certain things like this. Listen to this little section. Oh, sorry, I don't have it in yet. When you're doing automation, I rely a lot on automation. Oh, I love automation. Automation's my best friend. Automation is what a SSL board used to do, and with the flying faders, and you tell it to do something and it does it every time. It's super dope. So in this case, I have that, and I can really get in and draw it too, which I love. So here's this little spot. That needs to be cleaned up. So you see what I just did? I just automated that. And now if I double click on it and go over to send, now take a look at this. I love this. This is my connect the dots. Who didn't like to play with that? I'm holding down control and pulling down, and look at that. I kind of like it, but I want to even it out a little bit, or I can make it come in a little later. I can do whatever I want with it. And yeah, I'm pretty happy with that. And there's another way to do this, and I want to show you how to do that in just a moment. In the meantime, I'll bring this down just because I know that the next way is going to be even better. Betterest. Let's see what this clavinet is doing. Ooh. Oh, I love that. Now, when I hear that, I want it to growl a little bit. I want it to have a little delay, a little plate reverb, even more of this, and I want to go in for some of that EQ again. So I'm going to save, and I'm going to pull this guy over to the clav and make him grow. So again, 4 to get it back. Any questions from anybody?
That's late right there.
What was that?
That clav is late. I don't know if we're doing this today, but
Oh Lord Jesus, Justin, you are the best, dude.
that
Yeah, there's.
bomb is
Don't worry, Justin. You can always fix that later.
okay. Cool.
It's just so hard to not. Okay, so I've got a rough idea. So I just like to mess around with it a little bit until I get it to where there's no exact science. I'm just playing with colors right now. And I've got that guy. I'm going to put him far right because the bubble is in the left. Oh, the bubble isn't in the left yet. Now it is. There it is. You hear that? They're kind of siblings. I think we need a little more of a boost. What do you think? We need a little more boost on the bubble. So let's add that. I can do that with EQ. Remember what I told you earlier? Just raise up the EQ sometimes. Now you got to ask yourself, are you officially, I'm going to break it down a little bit. Are you bringing everything up and then all of a sudden you realize, oh crud, now I need to turn up the drums, and then, oh no, I need to turn up the bass, and then you're doing it over. So everything in its place, every place has a thing. I don't know what that thing is, but here we go. Clav 2, let's get into it quickly. Any questions from the audience? I want to take questions in real time this time.
Nacho's asking, are you applying the EQs in the drums group or in the individual channels?
I'm using drums as a stem right now. We'll probably replace them with the others. So there are no, the EQs are for the entire thing. So and when I get drums recorded in a studio, I ask them to send me a stereo pair, and that's it. And then I like to EQ from there. It's just so much easier. We can record everything in this studio, but we used to do drums here, but it just doesn't sound the same. So.
And then could you real quick show the default bass EQ?
Oh gosh, see, here's the thing. I can't because I've got an old plugin that will force quit. It's this guy right here. Oh, I love him so much. TR3 PEQ. It is the Pultec plugin. Pultec, Pulteck or TEK. And then I just have this and then this little shelf. There's nothing. If I were to try and show you what it looks like as an EQ, if I were to EQ it, it would be like this. Great question, by the way, guys. I love that. Sorry. I used to use it a lot. It would be, this is what I used to do, but then I would go wider with it. No, like that. So as you can see, there's no highs. A little bit of this maybe right in there, but this is the area you have to avoid. Think of it like a kind of an Amazon box almost. You want to avoid those mids, this range, and maybe give it a little distinction here and a lot of oomph here. This is the area that you want. And right around here is the kick drum. So kick, bass. But I prefer the Pultec which is what I used to plug our bass into for old albums. So yeah, and there are many Pultec plugs. So over here we have a little bit of a clav that I've just added another clav. Let me just hear the last clav before we get into it. And he looks busier. Okay, so I'm gonna go for maybe a little chorus on this guy, just to give him some stereo. And I'm gonna make him a little more AM-ish, a little less mids, and have him be in an area where the guitars are here, the piano's here. I want them to avoid each other. You hear that? Think of it like the peacock feathers. Okay, now I'm gonna do this. I'm gonna add this. I'm gonna add this guy and do a little. You hear that? Isn't that fun? Just a little automation and boom, it's right there. It's instantly done. I can go back and fix it later on, but that's that automation there. It's now in. I'm gonna bring it down a little bit now just because I'm going to show you my trick. Are you ready for my trick? I know you're ready for my trick. Here we go. Again, nobody taught me this. These are things that just wake me up in the middle of the night. And I'm like, oh, we could do that. It's so much fun. And so in this case, I'm going to hide the flat pick. Everything else that I've played so far is in. I'm saving. I'm going to bounce Control J. And if you have to go up in your top window and figure out what things are, so I'm going to call this Rid Dub. This is my secret sauce here, guys. And I'm going to not save it as a wave, but add it back into. So import it, add to sequence, and bounce it. It's going to take a minute to do. And as I do, I'm going to take some questions. What questions do we have? And or comments from
Next one is how much would you pan the pick guitar?
all the way to the right.
Mario.
Is that Mario as in like Livingstone? Okay. So yeah, it's essentially can you see me? Can you see my face as well as I'm doing this talking or not?
Yes.
Okay. So yeah, if the drums are here in the center and the bass is here in the center, everything else needs to be outside of it. Think of it like this, like a peacock, drums, bass. You got these things. You got your rhythm guitar, your piano, your organ, your flat pick. Now, I like to put the piano opposite the organ. So like that. And the guitar because they're similar timbres, they're so similar sounds, similar instruments. If you pan them from each other, they will stand out more. And if I learned this by having a car that had a broken speaker on one side, and Bob Marley, I was only hearing the bubble or only hearing the rhythm guitar or only hearing this. And then I realized just how much they panned. Now, some panning is a little crazy. Jimi Hendrix insisted on panning all his vocals to one side. I would not go that far. Other questions as I'm bouncing this down? We're getting to the good part, guys. We're getting to the good part.
Do we only bounce MIDI tracks to audio before mixing to save DSP or CPU, or are there other advantages? From Dolisha.
Great question. I don't ever use MIDI, so I'm the worst person to ask that. Justin, you want to jump in? I don't.
What was the question?
Do you bounce MIDI to audio? What was that? What?
Do we only bounce MIDI tracks to audio before mixing to save DSP or CPU, or are there other advantages?
I've heard that's a good route to go, but what I normally do is when I'm doing my projects, I keep everything into MIDI, and then I'll bounce it all into audio files and then send it over to Mark on Digital Performer. But yeah, I would, if you're doing a heavy project like this, I would recommend bouncing MIDI to audio to save the CPU power.
Does MIDI take more CPU power than audio?
I can.
Can.
Depending on what you're
I know for my old school purposes, MIDI used to meant that you were pulling from hardware and not software. Every time you unplugged or reset or brought the piano out or in, the synth out or in of the studio, and you plugged it back in, you were risking not having the same exact sound or settings. And so I would always bounce, but that's like 20 years ago. Any other questions?
Yeah, Jose's asking, what frequency do you think of the organ as, like by default, and how do you control the lower body of the organ without causing it to be muddy?
Oh, well, yeah. Again, I always use what do you call that? Basically killing the bass. I always use that shelf and get off that lower end. And then I just kind of futz around with it. And it depends. This organ, I focused on the mids and the highs. Most organs, it's more like where the piano shank is, looking at how I EQ that. Let's say that's right in the center. I make that mountain in the center. I typically make the bubble like to the left of it, closer to the bass, but it all depends on the sound. Some bubbles are like more fluty. This one's this one's like really bright, and that's what, and so it's distinguishing in that way. So okay, now what I just did here is I bounced down the rhythm, all the rhythm. I'm going to put the flat pick back in. If I were to play it, you'd be like, that's just twice as loud. Why would you do that? Now watch my trick again. Same thing I did with the bass. I move with the drums. Remember this? I highlight them all. I'm clicking maybe 8 clicks to the right. And then I'm going to do this AM. And I'm going to go to, well, first thing, save. Why am I not saving? Save. Okay. Now I'm going to go to, my presets, which is, I guess I'll just go with this. If I can't find rhythm EQ, you can probably see it, but I can. There it is, rhythm delay bounce. There it is. Okay, so what this is this is a dub station doing a chink, 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 right? This is para EQ doing this. By the way, the organ I was talking about, I usually emphasize over here, but it's over here this time. This is okay, and then I'm trying something else, and watch what this guy does. Oh yeah, you see, he makes it swim from the left to the right. Now remember, when you're putting in your plugs, when you put your plugins in, the order you put them in is crucial. If I put a stereo one, making it spin around before something that doesn't spin around, it's going to be problems. So this is what I have. I've got this guy all the way down. Now I just need to find that sweet spot. Now I can automate it and listen to what I've got going on here. Nope, didn't want to do that. Okay, undo that. Something like that. I think this rhythm is not the right rhythm. So let me get the rhythm to work. Now it is right. Okay, so I'll do something like that, and then essentially what I'll do is I'll go through, and when there's that little sweet spot where I like it, I'll do that and I'll add it in. But in this case, I think I'm going to need to go with this delay instead. So let's try this, and because this dub station is not participating right now, let's try it. And sorry about this, guys. There it is. Okay, that's what I wanted. Okay, so now check this out. I've got this guy, right? And now I have this. I know where I want it. I'm going to Apple A and I'm going to bring them all down. Okay, so now with that, sorry, Command A, I can just do this. Right? So I can just bring that guy up right here and just find that sweet spot. And I can automate it like this. See that? Super fun. I like at the ends of the phrase. Right? You can do this throughout the song. Coming in, here we go. And right there, I realized I made a mistake. And I'll do this. Now, there is something that I like to use when I'm doing this. And it's off the table right now, but somewhere around here, it's a little thing that I plug in, and I just kind of do it by hand using real knobs. But it's super small. You hear that? And that's what we do. Another thing you can do with rhythm is you can do something like this, where you can add like this guy, for instance. This is a second option. So let me just duplicate this guy and show you another option here. Here we go. Same thing again. I'm just going to highlight this right now and just get rid of that. And I'm going to do this for this section. I'm going to copy this, put this down here. And now for this guy, I'm going to use a different one. I'm going to use a reverb. Same concept. Listen to this. That'll wake you up, right? Now, a little loud, needless to say, but if I put that in the right place and recorded it, right? Okay, so for some reason it's not wanting me to automate on this one, but you get the idea. I can automate that, and it's a fun thing to be able to do if I want to. And another thing to do is, well, to highlight one of these guys, put it on its own track, and then just add the delay. So those are things that can be done there. And moving on to the next trick that I like to do. Let's see here. Let's get this organ in really quick before we... I love it. Now, I asked him to give me something that was haunting. I asked him to give me something that would be, as I talk, I'm automating that down. I asked him to give me something that would be like a Halloween song. You may be saying, hey, Mark, this is a kind of dark sounding song. Well, the whole concept with this song is to write a song similar to Ghost Town, but my inspiration was this church is a valley of dry bones. And inspired by the whole concept of God, putting meat on dead bones in the Old Testament. It's that kind of thing. So I love this organ. I'm going to try doing something a little different with the organ to contrast what the other one is doing. So let's see if that works. No. So again, I'm trying to find that sweet spot that I like, get rid of the ones I don't like. So that's why I'm going extreme when I do it. So I'm going to do that. I'm going to add a little bit of a reverb to it, just a little bit, just to give it that vibe. And I'm going to delay it out at the end, automating it in 5, 4, 3. There it is. So a little bit of that. And then let's see what else he's got. Let me make sure it's not too loud. Sometimes when you listen to something, when you're focusing on it, it's like, wow, I didn't realize it. I was too busy on the EQ and didn't find the right place. The drum's still in the right place, guys. I feel like these rhythm dubs are a little loud from time to time, so I'm gonna.
Drums are kind of tucked in.
Drums are tucked in right now. We don't want that. Okay, so that means other things are not in the right spot. So yeah. Okay. I think we're at a good spot, somewhat. Okay, again, I don't know because I'm not listening on your speakers. Here we go. Let's go old organ. Oh, dude, come on. That's like the best organ in the world. Yeah, that is so sweet, man. Oh, dude. Can't get enough of that right now. All right, that organ is super sweet, beautiful little guy as well. So I'm going to find a little spot for him too. I think he needs to be brightened up. Got a few here. Again, it's weird to be doing this without real speakers. Okay. And I think we need a little delay. Cool. All right. I think I'm good there. Let me see what else. Any other questions, guys? Let's talk questions. Preguntas.
Do you recommend paying attention to metering, in parentheses, true peak, RMS, etc., while mixing in addition to mixing with your ears?
No, not at all. I just go by my ears. It's probably a horrible thing, but I feel like nobody's, when they get a CD, watching the meters. I feel like they're listening to it, they're feeling it, they're knowing it. And when you mix enough, you kind of get to know what works and what doesn't, and then you count the rest to be on mastering, but never mix thinking that mastering is going to fix it. I do from time to time check my master and make sure it's not peaking. And make sure that, because if it's peaking and or these tracks are peaking, they could be giving a clipping sound or distorting sound. We don't want that. Okay, so I'm going to, good rough spot there. Let me rate.
You did.
Yeah,
you did, however, in the very, very beginning of this seminar, you kind of prepared all the tracks and you brought down like 4 to 6 dBs.
I did. I brought everything.
So in the same way that you're not like paying attention to for all metering, you kind of prepared everything not to be peaking as you add stuff into the mix.
I typically do about 6 dB from what somebody gives me. And if you saw that, I turned the organ all the way up and I didn't have headroom. So I should have brought it down a little bit more. But it is what it is. I'm going to race through these rest of these tracks so I can get to the vocal, which is the most important part here. Let's see what K-pad is. This is K-pad here. times being from Brazil. That's nice. See what I'm doing? That's the kind of reverb I'm adding to it. I'm going to add that to the end of it, and it's a so I'm going to add that to it and just automate it right now. And the same thing as before, I then like to go into that automation and kind of make it to where I'm happy with it and it's not too hot, or it does it. I hold down control and then pull down and just. Sometimes I'll have to automate the volume as well to get that. I think that's nice. I just love delays and reverb. I just can't get enough of it. And here we go. Let's go through the rest of the stuff here. Plowing through. Again, not really spending as much time I would normally spend on this song. I'd mix it for 6 hours before I got to the vocals, and we're going to get to the vocals in the next 15. Oh yeah, I love this guy. Oh yeah. I'm going to add a little bit of that, and I'm going to delay it. That's a chorus there. And I'm going to add some delay. That one, or maybe this one. I like that. And again, you EQ this stuff to try and find those. David Vincent, you got a question for me? Anybody got a question? Keep asking. I don't want to be keeping you guys from asking those questions. Somebody raise their hand. What does raise your hand mean? Does that mean they like it? Or does that mean they just have a question?
It means they have a question. They want to say something.
Go
Yes.
for it. Yeah, go ahead and add. Here we go.
Do you
Go ahead. What's the question?
I don't know if you already answered this. How to use parallel compression?
I don't even know what parallel compression is.
Okay.
I make this stuff up as I go, dude.
Should you ever solo a track in EQ?
Oh yeah, definitely. I don't do it that often. And part of it is time. Part of it is I want it to sit in the right place in the track. And part of it is I just kind of know what I've been doing after all these years. So,
I think both are important, but it's like what Mark does. It's what a lot of engineers do is actually to mix in context.
Yeah, context.
You gotta know what you're doing. You gotta know how the EQ is gonna affect, the entire mix.
I definitely solo from time to time, especially if it's something I can't find and not really, it's a new thing. But, like when he gives me a Wurlitzer, I know what a Wurlitzer sounds like. I just quickly plug it away, So this guy right here.
Sorry.
Go ahead.
Hey, David Vincent, about the parallel compression, hit me up. We can chat a little bit about it.
Okay. Yeah, so compression has been my nemesis, trying to find the best way to use compression so that it doesn't have something pump. So that's what I'm going for this guy. And all right. The funny thing is we're trying to imitate a sound where people, in a time and an age when people didn't know about any of this stuff, so we're, okay, he's got this. What is this? Okay, that's an ominous kind of that's the intro, okay. So these are all just different sounds he's giving me. And I'll definitely go through each of these again when I'm mixing it, just to make sure that they're in the right spot and I don't have the time to go through every single one of them, but I kind of know what I'm looking for. Ooh, that's a, okay, slam. It's a, I wasn't sure what that was. And that, again, would be a great example for why you would want to solo it. And in this case, let's hear it. Okay, yeah, so. So with that in mind, I'm going to add a cheng, 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 maybe this to it, and see if that gives it a little more of a strike. Yeah, check, 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 check. Okay, so yeah, and now let's move on to, what is this guy? Where is this guy at? I do ask, if you notice my table's pretty clean, so I insist, and if he gives me a bunch of tracks that are thick from beginning to end, I insist to get rid of all this blank space. This stuff I hate because you can't find the actual spot of where the music is. So that's nice. I asked him for some prepared piano kind of sounds, something that's like a little more, and you can click on this. That's what I want. Yes, Jesus is Lord. I asked him for something like that where people would put, like, I don't know, little paper clips on piano strings and stuff like that. Now for this, I'm going to make this thing swim around us. And let's see if I have one of these guys up here. I should. This one. Let's try this one. Just kind of have them swimming from the left to the right. You good?
Are you good?
Yeah, I'm great.
Should I wait or?
No, you can go. If I love you, bro.
Okay, sure.
I'm fine either way. Okay, so here we go. And next we have this, which is a chank here. And this is, so we have all this stuff. Now there's so much more that I wish that I could go through, including percussion and things like that. This is horns. Let's hear. So these are some of the many things in this song. And then so I've just put everything in now. Just a rough sketch of the rest of the stuff. I will show you a few things really quick. We're going to go a little long today. I'm sorry. But I'm going to show you how I would track percussion on this. And it's the simplest thing in the world. Just watch what I do. And here we go. I'm just going to take us to, let's say, the chorus. Okay. Give me a second to get my positioning here. And I'm going to do this and do this and do this. Okay. So this is like the roughest version of doing something here, guys. Just to get an idea here, okay? All right, there you have it. I don't know if you saw any of that. That's my craziness. Okay, so now let me show you what I would do for that in order to put that in the track, just for this little moment here. And in this case, I did 2 vibras, so I'm going to put those guys down. I'm going to put the toggle down, and I'm going to put the I'm going to put that in the front. Here we go. Okay, so now the first thing I like to do is find the spot where I felt like the tambourine was the best. Maybe right around here. Right there. Okay, that little section right here. So I'm going to show you a short version of what I would do. I would typically spend more time, pick the best tambourines. But in this case, I'm just going to go in now and I'm going to line up these guys. I've only got a few to line up, so it doesn't take that long. And I get it to where I'll highlight like this. I'll go like that, and I'll just snip, 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 like the 8th day. If you know what I mean, that was a bad joke. And okay, here we go. And there we go, cutting, bring this across, and moving this guy there, and bringing this across. And Chiago knows how much I love to make sure that everything's on time.
How was unnecessary? Actually, so Mark, you probably don't know this, but when you were recording, for us, it sounded like you were like slightly behind.
Yeah,
it's because of the latency, but like
there's a latency.
You pretty much nailed it.
There is a latency in that, and it's bugging me just hearing myself talk right now. Okay, so I'll do that. I'll then zoom into it, right? And I'll get that little guy right here and right here, and I'll highlight him, and I'll paste him there, etc., and paste him there, and I'll paste him before. And we've got what we need, I think. And once I do that, then I'll just highlight them all, and I'll Command Control F, and then I will move them over one, move them back one, and or whatever. And yeah, there we go. With that in mind, once I've got them, I can then Option Shift M, which is merge. Now they should be pretty on there. That section should be pretty on. And let's see, now I'm going to paste it throughout. Happens 2 more times. I never do this without listening to it. And sorry about that, kicked the mic. And same thing again. Yeah, there was a latency definitely in what I was doing here. So let's see, let's get this guy here. These are the vibras. Okay, so let's make this guy land on. And I'm going to make him on the 1 and just drag him across. And you see that? This is where you see how I like this. This is how it should be with a soundbite. It should be like that. Okay, so that's what I'm going for each time. And then I do a crossfade. And I get rid of the tail because you never know, I could have kicked something with my foot or whatever. And so there you have it with that. And again, fade. Same thing with this guy. I'm going to get rid of him, and let's see what he sounds like. Okay, so that, I hate that tambourine sound, by the way. Just cannot stand it. Okay, let me find, oh, that's because it's the old one, not the new one. Here we go. This is Tam copy 1. Nope, Tam. Sorry, guys. Not used to doing this while recording.
Just Tam thing.
Okay, yeah, this one's, you're right, it's Tam. For some weird reason, it's not doing it. So I'm just going to create another. There's so many different things going on here. Here we go. And the problem was is I copied a vocal track which has so much stuff. There it is. It works, right? Find that little sweet spot, maybe a little bit off to the right. Now I'm going to add a little bit of a plate to it, or a little reverb to it. That's too much. Right there. And then you can even EQ it as well. And that's how I would do percussion, but I would do it in 10, 15 tracks. So this guy, Butterdink, is going to get a delay as well. And then let's get on to vocals and finish up. So get your questions ready. And that vibra is annoying there. I'm going to put him in the center just so that I have it off there. And that, again, I would do some different effects on stuff. Okay, now let's get to the vocals. And this is the part that, honestly, once I got the rhythm, I was like, you know what? I should throw down some sort of idea. And so we don't have scratch right now. I mean, we just have a scratch here, but I'm going to drag it up to the top so that I can give you an idea of how I would do vocals in a quick manner. First of all, you see these guys down here? I will show you how I comp vocals. Oh, it gives me nightmares thinking about it. When we do our vocal recording class, we're going to get into that. I'll show you this in more detail on the vocal recording class. Who knows when the vocal recording class is? Somebody guide me with that. I feel like it's this week, maybe.
June 23rd at 5 p.m.
5 p.m. There it is.
In such a crying shame, house is a valley of dry bones, because they don't teach.
First, let me talk about my chain here, vocal chain. Starting with Waves Tune.
The Bible no more.
Without it, you can listen to that same thing.
Because they don't teach the Bible no more.
With it.
They don't teach the Bible no more.
Nice. This is the preset that I used for Trailblazers. We have some saturation on it. Sunshine.
House is a valley of dry bones, because they don't preach.
Right, we got some saturation on it. We have some dynamics. I like to go through the compressor.
House is a valley of dry bones, because they don't teach
And then I have an EQ, which is this.
the Bible no more.
I have another EQ, or this is a compression.
This house is a valley of dry bones.
So, and then I have a de-esser, and I have another compressor.
Because they don't preach the gospel no.
Now, I don't have enough time, and quite honestly, Connor was a guy that would go through these compressors and everything and get it going. Then I have this, and this is my secret sauce here. I honestly don't even know what it is. Honestly, it's something that I did like, oh gosh, I want to say To the Foundation, 20 years ago maybe. So I have a delay, and it's, I don't know, I just kind of like it. 7% over here, 14%. Now let's hear it by itself, with and without, just so that you get an idea of what I'm dealing with here. Okay, so this is it.
House is a valley of dry bones.
I'm gonna hide everything else.
Because they don't teach the Bible no more.
This is straight vocal.
This house
With it.
is a valley of dry bones.
You hear that?
Because they don't preach the gospel no more.
It gives a lot of presence. So this is like a default go-to for me. And then I just had a reverb, simple reverb, and
This house is a valley of dry bones.
with it,
Because they don't teach
with
the
all these
Bible
other.
no more. This house is a
So there it is. And now let me show you how I do automation of vocals, which is a nightmare in and of itself. but we'll try and do the quickest version. Get your questions ready. I'm going to do this in a few moments, Lord willing. Like, here we go. Okay, and
In such a crying shame, house is a valley of dry bones.
first thing I want to do is tune.
Mark, you stopped screen recording.
Oh, stop screen recording. Thank you. How do I get to that screen recording? Gosh. Thank you for telling me that. And Zoom. Let me just try searching Zoom. There we go. Okay. Screen share. Share sound. Tell me if you're hearing me now.
Yep, you're good.
Okay, sorry about that, guys.
In such a crying shame, house is a valley of dry bones. Because they don't.
That's weird. For some reason, I'm hearing flat pick now off time. Oh, is that times? Is times there? That is so weird. Are you guys hearing that?
Yeah, doing it.
Okay, it's seriously.
It's probably you probably accidentally opened a track or
You're right.
something.
You're right. I opened the click. I mean the flat pick. There it is. Found it. My gosh. I'm like, what's going on, man? Thank you. What would I do without you? Here we go. And
Such a crying shame, house is a valley of dry bones.
so what I'm doing is I'm tuning it now.
Because they don't teach the Bible no more.
And I'm setting up the automation.
This house is a valley of dry bones. Because they don't preach the gospel no more.
So there, you have an idea right there of what I just did. Now let's hear with the tuning and make sure it's good.
In such a crying shame, house is a valley of dry bones.
So this should probably be straight about there. And little things like that we will do and try and get it to where we're right on.
Such a crying shame, house is a valley of dry bones.
Much better.
Because they don't teach the Bible no more. This house is a valley of dry bones.
Girls will say, "Dry bones." I can't hit that note.
Preach the gospel no more.
Okay, so there you have it. It's tuned now, and it's double tuned, so we can do any major correction. And the last thing that I do is this. I just go to, this is my delay for the more, and I'll get that to where I'm happy with it. I'll add that at the beginning. It's such a crying shame, that part, and save, undo, and do this. No, it's not wanting to be my friend right now. Only because I'm trying to show you guys. So you see that? I'll do that, add a little bit of that to it, and then I'll just automate it. And in this case, this is how I automate vocals. Just going like this.
Because they don't teach the Bible no more. This house is a valley of dry bones.
You see what I'm doing?
Because they don't preach the gospel no more.
So basically, I'm bringing it down when it's a little loud, like more.
The gospel no more.
And then I'll toggle back and forth between that and the other effects and try and get that right level. And that's how I do my vocals. And I'll do this for 16 to 25 vocal tracks in a song.
The gospel no more.
So this section right here of working on vocals, I have done for 8 hours in a row at least on each of Avion's songs. It takes a lot of time to get it to where it sits in the track perfectly and to where it is just like it's made for it. I like to open it up for questions. And then, of course, lastly, when I'm done with the mix, I make sure that it's not clipping like this.
It's such a crying shame.
And I like to get the volume
House is a valley of dry
as loud as I can without it being in red.
because they don't teach the Bible no more. This house is a valley of dry bones. House is a valley. House is a valley of dry bones.
And I could do this all day, but this is just a rough sketch, a rough vocal. Love to open it up for questions. And then, of course, by the way, the average song for CHRISTAFARI, shortest time from beginning to end is typically, well, it can be a day, but usually about average of 3 days a song to 7 days a song. Avion's album took 2.5 years. Average album for us takes about, I would say 3 to 6 months, all depending on our tour schedule. Any questions regarding this before I close this out? Ask away. Let's see. Are you using MacBook Pro? No, I'm not. We do record on MacBook Pro on tour. I'm using whatever this is the
Mac Pro.
The Mac Pro, the old trash can Mac. Okay, Danny, after you choose to mix your own songs, how long did it take you until you release your own production? When did you arrive and say, now this production is perfect? Nobody ever says this production is perfect, but I would say, to the best of my satisfaction, I try not to, I'm going to take off screen sharing, stop share. Yeah, I try not to get it to where, I try to get it to where I'm happy. And that is where you step away, get perspective, make sure that the person next to you is happy. I try to make sure, I'm not an instrumentalist, so I make sure that there's an instrumentalist saying, hey, Mark, those chords don't work, or this or that, at least hearing the mix before I approve it. First album that I mixed was, well, I mixed a few like independent projects for Emisi or Youth Exodus, was our album, Gravity, and then Emisi's Visions of the Father, and then Avion's Oninye, which won a bunch of awards, album of the year. That was my third or fourth. Since then I've mixed so many. I will say that it's gotten a lot easier, and I will say that I spend a lot less time on it, and for some reason it sounds better. So maybe I just know what I'm doing, or maybe I just don't care. I don't know, but I do care. I mean, I'm up till dawn working on songs until I'm happy. I will pour through each track with the kind of emphasis that you didn't see me spend as much time on a given track as I normally would. Okay, next one. I see you have a lot of depth in Waymaker. How do we create depth like that in any mix? I think it goes back to that same peacock thing that I was showing you before. And I'm not trying to say that this is my way, but I really like to see things as if every place has its thing, everything has its place. And in doing that, it helps me kind of realize, okay, like if I have 2 acoustic guitars and one's in the left and one's in the right, I'm going to want to make sure that they're EQ'd. One's EQ'd like this and the other's EQ'd like this. And I'm crazy for doing it because you wouldn't normally do that. But when you hear it, it just gives this fullness of sound. And so each song is different. Each instrument is different. Waymaker, we start off very slow and then we build up and then we crescendo. It's not just like by adding bass or this or that, but there is each, like I said, in this thing, I'll show you the screen share again, just so that you guys see what I'm talking about. I'm talking about this right here. This is my mixing way, where the drums are in a different EQ spot than the bass, and the keys are in a different EQ spot slightly than the guitars, percussion or other highs and effects and stuff, and horns and synth. One thing I didn't get into, guys, which I don't have the time to do right now, but is this. With each of our songs, I like to go through and I like to do this where I go into all these different sounds. So I have all these are samples that I've created over the years or gathered over the years or purchased over the years. So whether it's ambient sounds, whether it's, I mean, I don't even know what this is. Right? These are all things that I just like kind of audition while I'm playing this song to see if it'll work or not. And I will say there's certain ones that I always go to, and here they are. These are my go-tos. Drum hits all the way down at the bottom, and I call it the Grampian. This one you'll hear more than anything else in our songs. That's a Garens. So I'll grab some of those and I'll use some of those from time to time. I like to add some swooshes and stuff, and just who knows what they are. Random stuff that I throw in to kind of give that certain that je ne sais quoi, that thing that makes this song different from the rest. And it could be this going, it could be who knows what. It could be a why, like this is from Champion Sound. No, that's Hands Up. So yeah, those are the kinds of things that I like to mess around with and try and find that unique blend of organic and samples and things, boom, and things. I have like 1,000 zaps and R2D2 bleeps and stuff to go through. Let's go through some more questions. How do you separate the bass and kick?
Hey, just pitch it in real quick on depth.
Yeah.
Panning is everything.
Panning is everything.
To create depth and EQ.
Mm-hmm. Definitely. Okay, so I'll screen share just to show you a rough idea of the kick versus the let's see the bass here. Let's see, going to this share and going back to this program. I can't wait for you guys to hear the finished project. It'll likely be out around Halloween, and it'll likely be pretty crazy. People will be like, "What did you guys do now? Where did you guys go? What are you doing, Mark?" Who doesn't like some good Halloween music when you're a kid? At least I did. If you're from another country, you didn't. Okay, so here's the drums are EQ'd like this, right? So this is the EQ for the drums. And I showed you earlier, I'll just create another one of these. And by the way, if you hold down Option and drag anything, in most cases it'll. So this is my typical EQ for the bass, something like, don't need that. Yeah, bring this across to there and make this super wide. So something like that ish. Again, you can't really know until you know the source, but when you look at those together, you'll realize this one's emphasis is about 100. This one's emphasis is about 50. And again, it all depends on what the source is. And this one obviously is here and everywhere else. So this is kind of roughly what I'm going for, but it's more so by feel. You don't want the bass to be too muddy. And the challenge with reggae is the bass has to be heavy. The bass is really a lead instrument in all of that. So, okay, next question is, which mic are you using for percussion? Mike, this mic, I just got it. I'm so freaking excited about it. And Thiago's going to tell you about it right now because I don't even know the name. And you know what? We're going to teach a vocal class. Thiago's going to be a part of it. Join us, please. And Thiago, you're going to tell us what this mic is named so you can look it up right now, guys. Thiago's not there.
I am right here. So let me turn on my camera. So this mic is the Slate ML1. Basically, what this mic does, it emulates other vintage mics by using plugins. So it's a very flat microphone as is. The way you capture the sound, they're going to be very flat. And then you apply the plugins and you can basically have a sound of a U 47, you know,
Yeah.
a 251.
I think their
all these classic
advertisement
microphones.
is that it's $100,000 worth of microphones in a, how much is this, like 700 or who knows?
Yeah, $799.
And $799 for $100,000 worth of mics, and you can really audition. And according to, I mean, I have different vocalists in the. I mean, Ryan is very different than Avion's. Hey, I can't even imitate her. But to use the same mic, which is what we've been doing, using, I use the GT66 that I got for like $300 or $400 on every one of those other albums, and it doesn't really matter the mic necessarily, but this one, I love it. Okay, how do you separate the bass and the kick? We talked about. I'm going to race through these now. After this session, what are the next steps you'll take to completion? Oh, for this one, I would spend 4 times the amount of time that I spent teaching you, going through it. I have to, great question. I have to get my wife to sing on the chorus. I have to write the rest of the song. I go through all my voice notes that Thiago and I were talking about in the songwriting class, and I start auditioning different parts. And then I play, like for this chorus, I had 4 options and I sung them to somebody else and they said, go with that one. And then I'll add all kinds of effects. I'll also do something else that I really like. And I just want to show you this just because I can. You know what, guys? I own a Send, so I can go as long as I want. Sorry, guys. Here we go. Gonna share, screen share. Go ahead, Thiago. You want to ask another question while I set up the next thing? I want to show you something. Okay, this.
I was just gonna say that if anybody is looking to get that specific mic or any other mic or any studio gear,
yes,
I can
please
help you with that. So
excellent. Yeah, he's a dealer. I buy all my gear from him. I get all my in-ear monitors from him. If you're an artist and you don't ever want to lose your voice again, then work with Thiago on that. I'm going to do 2 things here, right? And you guys ready for this? This is going to be super fun. I'm going to do it in 1 second. Two takes. Okay, here we go. Let's see how quickly I can do this, just to show you what.
This house is a valley of dry bones, because they don't teach the Bible no more. This house is a valley of dry bones, because they don't preach.
All right. Did you? I wonder if it went through. It didn't look like I was getting signal. I did. Okay. So I've got a whisper, and I've got dry bones. Right. Okay. So now let me try something here. This is 2 tricks, 2 production tricks that you can do. Okay. And in this case, let me show you how to make this whisper a double. Right. So I'm going to take this track. I've already duplicated it. Okay. So I'm going to option and drag down, which means that it's going to, no, it's not going to. Okay. So I'm going to option from this one and drag down. And there we go. Okay. So now we've got 2 tracks right next to each other that are basically the same, right? So let's find where they come in. Right. So that's it. Now let's find out where they end. Okay. So we got that. And now I'm going to do a little bit of a fade because I'm anal like that. I'm going to option shift M, which is for me, my way to now watch what I'm doing. I'm zooming in. I'm going to take this guy. I'm going to move him off a little bit and I'm going to stretch him. Right. What I just did was I just made 2 vocals out of 1. I wouldn't normally do this, but you see how they're a little bit off now. Okay, now as they're a little offset, now I'm going to take these 2 and I'm going to call this L and call this R. And we're going to get more into this kind of stuff when we do the vocal class. But if I hard pan them now and add a little bit of a effect to it, like this. Okay, so it's a little, I think it's all right, but okay, so that's one way to do it. And then there's another thing to do. Check this out. This is Valley of Dry Bones. Okay, I got to make sure that this guy's on key, but for this case, I'm not going to. And here we go. This is what I'm going to do. This is one of my favorite things to do. I'll take this guy. I'm going to bring him down. I'm going to do the same. I'm going to move one a little bit to the right or whatever. Move one a little bit to the left. Okay. Now the first guy, I'm going to go up to spectral. I'm going to save, go up to spectral effects, and going to make this one male to, or let's say tenor to bass, or no, yeah, tenor, no, male to lurch, and accept. Next one, male to howl and accept. And let's see what we got now. Male to howl. This is, I haven't even tested this out yet. Don't even know what it's going to sound like, but let's see.
Dry bones. Because they
So yeah, you can do all kinds of things. I don't like the last one that I did, and so I'm going to bring that guy up to a higher one. But you can, this is what I did in Outsiders, and it was super fun to do because it made me, you know, have this out low voice.
because they
So I could do that. I do that in Every Good Thing Comes from the King. Give thanks for the gifts he bring. Every good thing comes from the King. So contributions. I do that. Let's go back to the next question. Okay. Answered that one. And did you mix gravitational dub with Solomon Jabby? No, I did it all by myself. I really learned how to record and mix by gravitational dub. That was the album where I just seriously cut my teeth on it. And I am actually teaching our guitarist, who's a genius in and of himself, how to mix. And he was having a big struggle with it. And I said, dude, you're doing our next dub album, which he's killing it on. And he's pretty much done. And by the end of the dub album, he now knows how to mix. And part of it is just learning what these effects and EQs and stuff do. It's so much fun. Okay. And speaking in depth, when trying to make a 3D mix outside of Vox, which is center. By the way, you'll see when we do the vocal class, lead vocal is center. But you'll watch what I wait until find out what I do with the doubles, with all the harmonies. We'll get into that. How do you choose what to keep in the front, middle, and back? Okay, nothing's in the middle and the back because we're not doing a 7.2 or whatever it is. We're not doing surround sound. Everything's in the front, but center is always lead vocal. Center is always drums. Center is always bass. Really, nothing else is center. Do we have any other questions that anybody has in the last minute?
Yeah, there were some about like vocals and stuff, but I pointed them all to the next class.
Vocal class is it. Guys, let me close this, stop my screen sharing. I can't thank you guys enough for bearing with this 2-hour session. I love you so dearly. I pray as some of you guys from time to time are sending me stuff, I'm like, ooh, I wish that they were this, or I wish that I want to learn from you. And I pray that you learn from everything that we did today. And I pray that you also just pour through our music and learn more techniques, but just most importantly, don't imitate me. Imitate God and the inspiration that he's given you. Innovate, don't imitate. And one of the things that you can do is to partner with us. And to partner with us basically means that it makes it possible for us to work on all these albums and to record all these albums. We don't have a label. We don't have a major distributor, a publishing company, anybody funding us. If you'd like to be our label, if you believe in what we're doing, if you believe that we should continue to put the gospel to reggae music and continue to slave away on these songs, sometimes for 7 days per song, we can't do it for free. And we really appreciate your partnership. And to do that, you can go to CHRISTAFARI.com/donate. There is a PayPal button there if your country doesn't work with our normal donation platform, but the top button is the most important one. And the biggest thing we're praying for is just for monthly partners, because we are releasing new music videos and going to new countries when quarantine's not over every single month. So please do that if you can right now. We really appreciate it. And we hope to see you in the next classroom. Thanks so very much. Anything else? Anybody else? Fun sessions. Thanks, Jeff Nayers.
Yeah,
all right, guys.
Just to say, thank you all for tuning in. And we got a lot of very relevant classes that we are doing. Tomorrow, I have a live sound session taking what Mark talked about in the studio and moving it to live. And then we have building beats and programming a song with Justin, which is going to be very applicable for you to do a little bit more of the composition and building.
And Justin's, just so you know, Justin's is coming straight from, he's using, what is it, Logic and a keyboard. So he's not using any samples, any live sounds, just those. He's going to build a song from scratch. I think the song is The Blessing, a reggae cover of The Blessing. Keep going.
Yeah. And then building a song from scratch with times, which, so all of these are so integrated. And then once again, the vocal recording and then album production with Mark on Wednesday, June 24th. So,
and the album production will give you the idea of how to, I'm talking about rough sketches of mixes. I'm going to talk to you about more tricks of the mix, like how to get the whole track to slow down, or certain things that I didn't get a chance to speak about today. So we're going to do that. And of course, the vocal recording, that's like the whole thing. And also, there's other instruments. We have Nicholas is teaching horns, sax, trumpet, trombone, and so many others. We have still almost 2 complete weeks left. Check it out. Go to ascendmasterclasses.com. Thanks so much, guys. God bless.